You have driven past one 1,000 times, a lit-up glass box on a strip of asphalt, 30 machines humming behind the window, nobody on the floor but one attendant folding towels under a television nobody is watching. It looks like the last honest passive income left in America. It is a municipal water bill with a storefront attached. Start with the fantasy, because the fantasy is genuinely good. There are no invoices to chase. Nobody disputes a charge on a washing machine. The product cannot be disrupted, cannot be shipped overseas, cannot be replaced by software, and demand does not fall in a recession. People wear clothes in every economy. The Coin Laundry Association, the trade body that represents the industry, has spent decades pointing out that roughly 30,000 of these stores operate across the country. Independent research firms put the sector at around $7 billion a year across somewhere near 17,500 storefronts, growing about 1.5% annually. Slow, boring, indestructible. You buy the machines once, the quarters come in forever. That is the version of this business that gets sold to you. Here is what the meter says. The first number is the ticket. Buying an existing laundromat in the current market typically costs between $100,000 and $500,000. Small, tired stores with 15-year-old machines can change hands under $50,000. Large, well-equipped stores in dense rental neighborhoods clear $1 million. Building one from an empty retail shell instead runs $200,000 to $1 million because you are buying every machine at once. Commercial washers and dryers run $1,500 to $5,000 per unit, and a working store holds 40 to 100 of them. That is $60,000 to $500,000 in steel before anyone washes anything. A card payment system to replace the coin boxes adds $40,000 to $80,000 more. So call it $350,000 for a real store with real customers. You are not paying that in cash. You are financing it, most likely through a Small Business Administration 7A loan, which covers the great majority of acquisitions under $5 million, which means somewhere between $35,000 and $100,000 of your own liquid money goes in the door and does not come back out. Then the part nobody budgets for, the store you just bought needs $50,000 to $100,000 in equipment upgrades, signage, and repairs to look like the store in the listing photos. You have not opened yet. Do you know what you actually bought? Not the building, almost never the building. You bought machines, a customer base, and a lease, and you bought a stack of permissions, a general business license, local permits for occupancy, for gas-fired appliances, for what you are allowed to send down the drain, because a laundromat is a commercial discharge point, and your municipal sewer authority treats it as one. Business insurance, which your lender will require before closing, runs $1,000 to $3,000 a year. Maintenance and repair, which is not optional and not seasonal, runs $500 to $2,000 every month. And a single service call on a broken washer costs between $120 and $500. Commercial machines last 10 to 15 years. If the store you bought has 18 aging top loaders on the wall, you are looking at roughly $54,000 in replacement steel inside the next 3 years. And that number is not on the seller's profit and loss statement. Now zoom all the way in. Forget the store, look at one load of laundry. The national average for a full load, wash plus dry, is about $5.25. The wash itself is $2 to $5, depending on machine size. The dryer is a quarter to 50 cents for 8 or 10 minutes, and a real load needs 30 to 40 minutes, so drying is another $1 to $2.50. In Texas, the whole load might be $2.75. In New York, it can run $10. $5.25 is the middle of the country. $5.25. That is your revenue event. That is the entire transaction. Everything about whether this business works is decided inside that $5.25. Here is where it goes. Water, sewer, gas, and electricity consume roughly 20 to 30% of your gross revenue, and older machines push that higher. Rent should stay below 25%, and if it climbs past 30, your margin is gone. If your store is attended, or if you offer wash and fold, payroll takes another 15 to 25%. Total operating costs land somewhere between 65 and 80% of everything that comes through the door. What is left on a well-run store is a net margin of 20 to 35%. So on that $5.25, before you make a single loan payment, you keep somewhere between $1.05 and $1.85. Call it $1.50 on a $5.25 load in a good store, on a good month. And the utility company gets paid first, every single cycle. That is not a figure of speech. Municipal water sells for roughly $3 to $8 per thousand gallons, and sewer charges add another $2 to $6 per thousand gallons on top, because you pay to bring the water in and you pay again to send it out. A commercial washer uses 15 to 40 gallons per load. The utility cost of one front-loading wash cycle is around 11 cents. A top loader is closer to 20 cents. A dryer cycle costs 50 cents to $1 in gas, depending on your local rate. Which brings us to the number that reframes this entire business. Across commercial laundry operations, utility consumption represents 60 to 70% of total operating costs. And when the Coin Laundry Association surveyed its own members, nearly half of owners named high utility costs as the single biggest problem they face. You did not buy a laundromat. You bought a license to resell municipal water, sewer capacity, and natural gas at a retail markup, from a fixed location to a price-sensitive neighborhood. You are a utility reseller. That is the actual business. And understand what that means structurally. You do not set your input cost. A rate board you will never sit in front of sets it for you, and water and gas rates rise 3 to 6% a year on average. You cannot switch suppliers. There is one water main under your building. You cannot pass the increase through instantly either, because your prices are painted on the machines and posted on the wall, and your customers are the people in your neighborhood who do not own a washing machine. They are the most price-sensitive customers in retail. A deal that pencils at today's rates may not pencil in 3 years if you cannot raise then prices to match. Now the part that continues whether anyone walks in or not. A mid-sized store might carry $8,000 in rent, $1,000 in insurance and fixed administrative cost, and $3,000 in payroll. $12,000 a month, before utilities, before debt service, before a single quarter drops. Total monthly overhead for most stores runs $10,000 to $25,000, depending on size and staffing. That clock runs on Christmas. It runs during the week the sewer line backs up. It runs while your 3 biggest machines wait on a part. So what does survival actually require? With $12,000 in fixed cost and variable costs, near 30% of revenue, you need roughly $17,000 of revenue every month just to reach zero. At $5.25 a load, that is about 3,200 loads a month, 107 loads a day. Every day. The industry measures this in turns. A turn is one machine running one cycle. 3 turns per day is a weak store. 4 is average. 5 or more is strong. And the sensitivity here is brutal. In a 40-washer store, losing just 1 turn per day costs about $5,400 a month. $64,800 a year. Gone. Not from a catastrophe. From a competitor opening 6 blocks away, or from an apartment complex installing in-unit machines, or from 4 of your washers sitting broken for a month. The average American laundromat, according to figures drawn from census economic data, grosses around $504,000 a year. A small 20-washer store does $250,000 to $400,000. A large store with 40 to 60 washers in a dense rental area can clear $600,000 to $1 million. Those are respectable revenue numbers. Hold on to them, because here is the honest arithmetic on the other side. Take a real store, a 2,800 square foot attended laundromat in a suburban strip mall. $241,000 in annual revenue, $158,000 in expenses, $82,800 in net income. That looks like a life. Except the owner also works 15 hours a week for free, scheduling attendance, taking maintenance calls, doing the books. Add that unpaid labor back, and the store's true earnings are $117,600. Now decide you want the passive version, the version you were sold, and hire a manager for $35,000 to $45,000 a year. Your earnings drop to somewhere between $72,000 and $82,000, and you still owe the bank. So who is actually making money here? Your landlord, first and permanently. You do not own the dirt. You own machines bolted to somebody else's floor, and when the lease comes up, every dollar you invested in that location becomes their leverage. This is measurable. On the same store with the same earnings, a 12-year remaining lease versus a short one can swing the sale price by $500,000. The lease is worth more than the equipment. A 40-machine store at 12 years old carries maybe $100,000 to $200,000 in book value on $400,000 to $700,000 in replacement cost. Your utility, second. Guaranteed offtake, guaranteed rate increases, zero operational risk. Your equipment distributor, third. Every 10 to 15 years, whether the business worked or not, the machines come out and go back in. And the seller, fourth. Independent laundromats trade at roughly 2.5 to 5 times owner earnings, which means the previous owner just converted 3 or 4 years of your future income into cash today and handed you the aging steel. If the broker told you that you could raise prices 20% and add card readers, notice what happened. You paid for improvements you have not made yet, with money you borrowed. So the verdict, honestly, this is not a scam, and it is not a trap. The industry claims a 90 to 95% long-term survival rate, and while that number comes from the industry itself rather than an independent audit, the direction is probably right. Laundromats do not usually die. That is exactly the problem. A store that survives is not the same thing as a store that pays you. Most of them survive as jobs, quietly grinding out $70-something thousand a year for someone doing the maintenance themselves. This business works for one kind of buyer. Someone who owns the real estate, replaces every machine with high-efficiency equipment to attack the 20 to 30% utility line, runs a second or third store to spread fixed costs, and treats it as a water margin business rather than an income stream. It destroys the buyer who wanted passive income, financed the whole thing, and assumed the quarters would keep coming without them. You will drive past one tomorrow. The glass box, the humming machines, the attendant folding towels under a television, nobody is watching. It still looks like free money. It is just the water company collecting through a storefront with your name on the lease.